Hi, welcome back to my channel for this May wrap-up. The first thing I read in May was Skim by Mariko and Jillian Tamaki. It is a graphic novel that tells the story of Kimberly Keiko Cameron, also known as Skim by people in school. It is set in high school and follows the coming-of-age experience of Kim. There are quite a few trigger warnings for this book, particularly suicide and depression, so if it's not healthy for you to read about those topics, then maybe this one's not for you. Despite this novel tackling a lot of serious topics, including toxic friendships, self-image, struggling with your identity, racism, social hypocrisy, the novel is also very quirky and funny about the whole high school experience. The main character and her best friend are goths and aspiring witches, and so there's a whole mystic and spiritual aspect to it too. I really enjoyed reading this. I don't read a lot of graphic novels, but I read this one in one sitting without looking up once. There's something amazing about the way this is written and illustrated. You have parts that are diary entries, and then there's of course the dialogue and thoughts of the main character. But then there's also sections that don't have any text, just the illustrations, but they still say so much. I also really like the fact that sometimes thoughts would be crossed out and then written anew, kind of showing the changing thoughts and emotions of the main character. It's definitely set the bar high for any graphic novels I'll be reading in the future, and I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. For the spread, I tried to imagine what an aspiring witch in high school's diary would look like. So I have the very poetic diary entry, which is a quote from the book, and then I drew the instructions for making a self-love potion in the blank space below, which I thought was very fitting to some of the themes in this novel. And on the right side, I tried to make the summary I wrote into a tarot card looking spread. So yeah, it was a lot of fun creating this spread. Next, I read A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. The preface starts with, "Far out in the uncharted backwaters of the unfashionable end of the western spiral arm of the galaxy lies a small unregarded yellow sun." I listened to the audiobook narrated by the author, and I believe that this is the best way of enjoying this book. It is witty and, well, really ridiculous, but overall quite enjoyable. I wouldn't say this is the type of book I would normally go for, but that being said, it was a nice change of pace, and listening to it kept me engaged even through the parts that were just, well, ridiculous for a lack of a better word. The story follows the adventures, or more like misadventures, of Arthur Dent, the last man surviving the demolition of Earth by a Vogon constructor fleet to make way for a hyperspace bypass. Dent was rescued by Fort Prefect, a human-like writer for the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, who got trapped on Earth and became friends with Arthur. So the story follows them as they explore the galaxy following their escape from Earth. I wasn't sure how to make a spread that would really represent what this book was like, so I tried to make it look fun and a little strange and silly. So on the left, I went for the key message of the book, "Don't panic," representing the Hitchhiker's Guide, and on the right, you have a cutout of Marvin, my absolute favorite character, and then I wrote a summary and some quotes around it, in a way that's definitely not the most convenient way of writing down a summary, but, I tried to channel the spirit of the book here. Six of Crows, Chapter 1. Yost had 2 problems, the moon and his mustache. Next, I read Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, and what a journey that was. This book has been recommended so much, and I was very excited for it, and I was not disappointed. This book is a fantasy novel that follows 6 teenagers who live in Ketchadam, a place of crime and struggle, and they embark on an impossible heist. The Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom duology is part of the Grishaverse, but it really is a story on its own, and so you can definitely read it if you haven't read the Shadow and Bone trilogy yet. This was actually my first Grishaverse book, and after I finished Crooked Kingdom, which is a sequel, I'll definitely go back and read the first trilogy. What I really liked about this book was the way that characters were described. That was definitely the favorite part of the writing for me. The book is also written from different perspectives, from like 7 or 8 people. So you get a really well-rounded view of each person, each interaction, and the dynamics between everyone. This is a writing style that's new to me, but I've really come to appreciate it in the past few months. It also really keeps you wondering what the other person is thinking at that moment, particularly in key moments where betrayal and secretive behavior might be happening. There's also a good amount of friendship and romance that really brings it all in together, and I can't wait to read Crooked Kingdom, which will most likely be next month. And then I will probably be able to tell you more about what I thought, because right now I'm just really anxious to see what happens next. For the spread, I kept it very simple. I have a cutout of the ice court on the left with the all-important phrase, "No mourners, no funerals." And on the right, I wrote my summary in a nice frame. Lastly, I read Will Grayson by John Green and David Levithan. Chapter 1. When I was little, my dad used to tell me, "Will, you can pick your friends and you can pick your nose, but you can't pick your friend's nose." This seemed like a reasonably astute observation to me when I was 8, but it turns out to be incorrect on a few levels. So this story is written from the perspectives of 2 boys, Will Grayson and Will Grayson. Set in high school, the real star of this book is Tiny Cooper, who is by far the most memorable fictional character I've met in a while. I really enjoyed reading this book. It is very witty, had me laughing out loud multiple times. While at times it is cringy and offensive, it does so in the best way, somehow. It also opens the door to a lot of important conversations about being part of the LGBTQ community in high school, about speaking up, about depression, and just about coming of age in general. I loved it from start to finish. The writing is simple and perfectly suits the 2 different perspectives who are written by John Green and David Levithan separately, and I would definitely recommend reading it. For the spread, I was inspired by Amanda Rach Lee's setup from a while ago. I will link it down below in the description box. I thought it was very fitting to this story. On the left, I put a small chat box from Will and Isaac's conversation, and one of my favorite quotes saying, "At some point last year, her gloom met my doom, and she thought it was a good match." On the right is for the other Will Grayson, featuring the Gay Straight Alliance production of Tiny Dancer, and where you can buy tickets. And that's also where I wrote down a little summary in the first line of the book. So that's it for this month. I hope you enjoyed the spreads, and make sure to like and subscribe, and see you next time.